Who bit the apple first? Was it red or was it green? Was it even an apple?
This podcast redefines your perspective and all you've been taught about life.
How, you may ask?
About delving into reality, the culprit that has been shaping your thinking.
You're listening to Eve and Eve with Ashika Sachet.
And your girl, Cristale.
Thank you for tuning in to another dope episode on Eve and Eve podcast. We are your hosts, Ashika Sachet and Cristale.
Welcome back, virtual homies.
And make sure during this episode, you head over to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to let us know what you think. That's EVE podcast.
That's Eve podcast. And go ahead and use the hashtag Eve podcast when you're letting us know what you're thinking about this dope episode.
So I'm just going to jump right in.
Let's do it because the wait is over. The wait is over. Oh, okay.
Today's question is, and listen carefully, is the Hoe Phase necessary?
Wait, what are you talking about? Is the Hoe Phase necessary? Like, are you saying...
Should everyone have a Hoe Phase at least one time in their life?
So are you saying, okay, have a Hoe Phase and that's going to equate to a healthy relationship?
I don't know. I mean, is it necessary? Like, if you have a job, that means you're going to get money, then you can pay to live. So how we can see that a job or some type of income is necessary to live, is the Hoe Phase a necessary experience? Like, do you need to have that before you die?
Yes, you do need to have that before you die.
But before we even talk about it, Cristale is going to let us know from the Urban Dictionary what a Hoe Phase is.
Yes, because I wanted to have some type of Google written facts. Because we asked some virtual homies, of course, but the Google written facts from Urban Dictionary reads, a Hoe Phase is a phase in your life that occurs frequently. When you are fine with exploring promiscuous activities and connecting with random people. These activities do not always end in sex, but can lead to it. You have a high tendency to dance provocatively with strangers, BATs in social settings, flirt nonstop, kiss and or make out with others, and get caught up in the moment. Mm-hmm. This phase helps you establish what you like and don't, explore your sexuality, and have fun. You have the ability to stop these actions or snap out of these phases.
Okay.
See, I identify with all that, actually.
Okay.
And this is kind of like, wow, I didn't even know a Hoe Phase can even be a whole definition.
I'm trying to tell you, Sheila did that. That's what's up, Sheila.
Shout out to Sheila. Why her name gotta be Sheila, though?
I'm just saying.
Like, it could be a whole, like, Bobby who wrote it. Bobby!
I love you, Bobby. Rest in peace, Whitney Houston.
Okay, back to it.
Okay, right. So we did ask a couple virtual homies what they thought about the Hoe Phase being necessary.
But you know who you are. You've been through your Hoe Phase. You know what you like.
Yes.
You dominate your situation. You make it good for yourself above all else.
I feel like the Hoe Phase is necessary because it's shit in your system. You gotta get out before you try to be committed to anyone.
Right, because if you don't, you're gonna try to do that with that one.
Try to do what with that one?
Whatever you didn't get out. Like, let's say you didn't have a threesome. Let's just say you wanted to have multiple partners at one time. It doesn't matter. You're gonna want that with that one. You're going to want it.
That doesn't make sense, though.
Yes, it does.
Like, the Hoe Phase is, like, I think
fun.
a time that a girl, a woman, or a man, like, really learns about themselves. Like, what they like, what they don't like, you know what I mean? And experimenting with different types of partners, too.
Okay. So we just heard from a couple of our virtual homies, Cristale, do you agree? Do you disagree?
I agree with the majority of the theme. It's very necessary to have a hoe phase in order to establish an idea of what you want in your partners. To not have an idea is kind of being a sucker, like getting played up for the okie doke. If you ask me, you gotta have your standards to the point where, all right, I think I like him tall. I think I like him short. I think I like it big. I think I like it long.
Wait, no.
Oh, sorry.
So, but you believe that requires a hoe phase? So to know if you like someone tall, short, big, light, physically fit.
Yes.
You think you have to go through all these different people?
How are you not going to know if you don't experience? Like, I'm saying definitely experience safely and use boundaries.
Did you have a hoe phase?
Yeah, I had a hoe phase. That's why I'm speaking so passionately. I think it's definitely vital for a woman to have a hoe phase.
Tell us about your hoe phase. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Tell us about your hoe phase since you're just so passionate about this.
Okay, well, let's just say this. My hoe phase happened when I was going off to college.
Okay.
And that was a complete area of freedom for me. And it was just a world of trying to get to know myself. And in the process, I was getting to know myself, my sexuality, and what I liked about sex in general, because I couldn't necessarily explore it under my mother's roof. So it was like a time where I really got to know what I liked.
Okay.
And in turn, it kind of helped my self-esteem. because I'm all like, yeah, you know, I know what I like. They feeling me, you know, I'm making appointments, I'm canceling appointments.
Oh, you was lit. Yeah. You was litty back then.
And I feel like
I'm sorry.
And I feel like during that time it was like levels to it. Like it was levels to my phase. So it's kind of like this, like the active phase I was in, then it went to remission, and then it went to relapse. And then it went right back to remission.
So just a full cycle. Me personally,
yeah, tell me why I'm all still in the tea.
I don't think the whole phase is necessary. However, I do feel like it's beneficial. So I had a couple whole phases in my life, like a few of them, and I felt like every phase helped me grow and also helped me create like this picture. So there was a time when I had a whole phase after a breakup, and I was like super salty about it. And I was dating both men and women, like doing my thing, right? And then I started to figure out, okay, I don't like women that don't shave under their arms. Like, so before I had that whole phase, I didn't know that hair under your arms bothered me until then. So
it was definitely helping you shape what you like and what you didn't like.
Yes, it definitely helped me. And as far as like even on the male side, I learned that if a man is telling me I miss you, I don't want to hear that all the time. Like, you need to be calling me saying I booked this, I have reservations.
Okay, so you was like a dominant
my whole phase taught me that stuff.
Okay, so you can say in your phase you had levels too then, like what I was talking about, the active.
I grew.
You grew each time.
Right.
Okay, but I'm talking about like the phases though. Like in your active phase, you were like actively promiscuous. You were getting to know what you like.
Well, I didn't say promiscuous because if I go back to the dictionary of Sheila, Urban Dictionary that Sheila wrote, it indicated that it doesn't always like end in sex or lead to sex. But I guess the act of going around can be promiscuous, but I wasn't necessarily sleeping with everybody.
Right, and I'm not trying to, okay, let me take that back. I'm not trying to imply that when you're active, you are actively having sex. I mean that you're actively in social settings, you may be
I'm kicking
flirting,
right.
You're kicking it, and you leading people on, basically.
And that is the dangerous part about the whole phase. Even if you tell someone what you're doing, there's still that risk of them not comprehending.
Yes, it's definitely risk associated with that. And then ultimately, these experiences will follow you into your next relationship. And when I say experiences or these risks, like a STD can happen. Like, what if you don't wrap up? Play it safe, right? Wrapping up leading to pregnancy, baby mama, baby daddy drama, and even getting beat up. Think about, you are like having your whole phase, but that person's in a whole relationship. Yes. And while you're exploring yourself, that person is committed, right?
That is true.
And you can risk getting beat up in your active stage. But then after active, you may say, hey, I've was active and I found someone and now I'm gonna cool out. I'm in remission, right?
Yes.
And this could be after, like I said, a relationship, a consequence, or you just now just so into yourself and developing who you are in totality, you're just cooling it. You're not really so much on the scene. You know, you just got your goals and you just set. And then after that is your relapse.
Well, I mean, how do you relapse though?
Well, you relapse because it happens after a breakup or like a traumatic event, or maybe you go to Dr. Miami and you get your body, you get snatched up.
Oh man,
for real,
that can throw you back into a whole phase.
A whole phase quick, because think about it, you got the perkies, you got no lipo, or you got lipo, you got everything that you want after coming from Dr. Miami, and males get lipo too. So. Definitely. Or he could have just gave that woman his all, and then she slept with the best man or something. That can definitely set that man right back into whole phase.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So, and like one of our virtual homies said, I do think the whole phase gives you that opportunity to get things out of your system. So now, you know, after you've gone through some things, you're like, oh no, I don't need to have a threesome, or no, I don't need to just take a trip and do X, Y, and Z, because you've done it already. So you're more comfortable, like, settling down. That's what one of our virtual homies said. And, you know, I agree.
So do you think that the whole phase is mainly good for a woman versus a man?
I think everybody should have it. I don't think it's a necessity, because I'm being technical right now. But I do think it is highly, 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 highly beneficial to everyone.
Okay.
And so I don't necessarily put it with a gender. Like, I just think the whole phase is the whole phase, and everyone should engage in it safely, obviously. So do you think every man and every woman should have it? Is it gender specific for you?
I can only speak about women because obviously I am one. I can say this. It appears that the whole phase for men never ends. Whereas for us women, it's kind of like it's frowned upon. Almost like society has told us we won't be viewed the same by the same standards as men. So it's better not to have our hoe on blast. Like the saying, a lady in the street and a freak in the sheets.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah, like women cannot openly hoe. Like, think about how, for real, it's definitely frowned upon. And that's why I appreciate it, low-key, Amber Rose just taking away that stigma of the hoe, because you can very well explore your body and explore your sexuality and not feel like it's just a terrible thing.
Yes, you're right. And everyone should do that. So, final thoughts.
Let's have them.
Number 1. Do not rely on the societal view of a hoe phase. Rely literally on your own views and do not feel bad about it. Number 2, no, the hoe phase is not necessary. But if you choose not to have a hoe phase, there are many, many risks to not having that hoe phase. And 3, please be intentional. You must trust your process. Whether you choose to have a whole phase or not, be intentional in that choice. Trust your process. It's literally yours. And be safe.
Stay tuned for Eve's struggle. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Anchor have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with minimum listenership, like me. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome back to Eve and Eve podcast. During Eve's struggle, we will read a letter from one of you, a virtual homie, needing our advice. If you ever find yourself needing advice, why don't you email us or join the conversation on IG, Twitter, or Facebook?
And email your struggle to evestruggle@gmail.com.
That's evestruggle@gmail.com.
So, a virtual homie wrote in needing our advice. Cristale, do you have the letter?
I do. And it reads, "Am I tripping? I've been dating my boyfriend for the past 3 months. We are in love. Aww. I trust him and don't have a doubt if he's cheating on me. However, after I posted us on my social media, he simply liked the picture but didn't leave a comment, nor did he post us on his page. In fact, he never posted me on any of his pages. Am I tripping? Should I be concerned that he's not sharing me to prevent someone else from finding out about us? Signed, Pictureless in Seattle."
Wow.
That's heavy.
Yes, it is.
Because it could be twofold. It could be a little bit of insecurity, maybe a need for a validation. And with social media kind of like being the prototype of a good relationship, some chicks really do be wanting to be posted.
Yeah, I would say some people. So, there you all have it. Our virtual homie needs our advice. So head over to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and give your advice. Hashtag Eve's Struggle. This concludes this episode of Eve and Eve.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We would like to hear from you. Email us at evestruggle@gmail.com.
That's Eve Struggle.
Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at EVE Podcast.
That's Eve Podcast.
Join us next week for another dope episode.
You heard it, dope episode. And until next time, walk in your truth and please trust yourself.